Welcome to 50/50 Books, the book review podcast where the books are split in two, and figuring out just what is going on is always a toss-up. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jonathan. This episode we're finishing up, This Is Not a Game by Kelly Mullen. So we started last episode talking a bit about how this book we are reading now connected with another famous piece of media. Taylor, how do you think the relationship with Clue panned out?
Thankfully, it seems we came to a close on the Clue connection. There was only one bit still with Barb getting choked, which was very similar to the maid in Clue. She dies the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it seems like the similarities died down. So I think I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I felt similarly. There was some mention of Clue, by name towards the end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure, okay, maybe that's the loop back around to say, hey, I was thinking about Clue. But yeah, it wasn't so we're going to follow all the beats, which I agree is a good thing.
Yeah, to be fair, even the beginning bits, it's is it a Clue thing or is it a cliche thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I should have mentioned this last time, unless I had to cut it for some reason. But I'm not saying the author is doing anything intentionally. They really could just love Clue a lot.
Right.
And they kind of wanted to match that energy, because I think this tries to in the tone it has, which we can talk about the tone when we get there. But yeah, I don't think there was anything nefarious happening in the writing of this book.
Sure. Yes.
I just think this person loves mysteries.
Yeah, that's where it becomes difficult, because there are a lot of tropes in the mystery genre, and I think Clue itself intentionally almost makes fun of that a little bit in the way it approaches it, right? So it becomes it's hard to separate it out from this book, or books like this book in the genre, because of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And how are you feeling, Clue aside?
I think overall I had a good time reading it, and I think again we can revisit that during the style, whereas overall I don't know how to put this. I didn't find myself unenthused or unentertained by it.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think overall the story beats didn't hit for me. Maybe some of the logic is really where my problems with the book will come up, as far as how the mystery was pieced together. But I didn't necessarily mind reading these authors' words, you know?
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Cozy mysteries are always hard for me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of parts where I just wasn't enthused by what was happening in this book. But I feel we say this a lot. It had pretty good bones.
Yeah. I will definitely have some points of disappointment, but it'll be hard for me to be oh, this book was horrible or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess let's get into the mystery portion and see what we did and didn't like about it. The big central component of this book, and reason why we related it to Clue, was this Blackmail storyline, and we kind of theorized a little bit in the first half of who was the actual source for the blackmail, because there's a lot of assumptions at the beginning that this is Jane's party, so this is Jane's blackmail. But that's not the case. We do get confirmed that Matthew is behind this all, and let me just go ahead and apologize for any attempt I had at trying to find good in Matthew, because there was no point. It just proved to be a scumbag and involved in all the wrong things in all the wrong ways, and the blackmail was one of them, of course.
Yeah, I think having the letters be typed was the giveaway for that. But yeah, we did get that confirmed.
Yeah, and the motivation seems to be that his wine company was falling apart. I mean, everyone had the wine at this party and were well, this is disgusting. And then there was some stuff in that deep basement that suggested he was in debt as well.
Yeah, which I would like to say I kind of called that. I said the negligence would be for the business, possibly, and that's why they were having trouble.
I forgot about the negligence call. Yeah, good point. Yeah, nothing to do with Alexandra, who's going to be the frequent red herring for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's in trouble with that. And as we learn more about Matthew throughout the second half too, it's not really just the blackmail that he attempts. There's a few mentions of him trying to get a cut of other people's income. The one that I wrote down was when Jane helps Kimiko out with the ice cream sponsorship deal. And he's why didn't you take a cut of that? We should be getting a cut of that. Like, he's like very involved in taking money for work he's not doing. So like he lays that groundwork before the blackmail even becomes a thing.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know if we ever learn much about Matthew's backstory, but he really just seems like a gold digger, right? Like, is that the vibe?
I like wrote a note that said like, oh, he's kind of a gold digger. He's kind of a gold digger, except it's more than that, because it's not like he's just seeking wealth. Like, he does have a motivator by debt. I think without the debt, you know, it'd be very easy to call him a gold digger. It's possible he still is, but because the debt adds that motivation, it's like not just that.
Right. Okay. I forgot about the debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woody and Jim, they were not accomplices on the murder, but they were accomplices on the blackmail, it turns out. And I had some confusion to clear up here. Just one being, I remember they counted Woody out of being involved with the blackmail because they were like, well, he didn't seem to really know what we were talking about when we brought it up. But then clearly he was involved with the blackmail, and they never revisited it to be like, oh, like he actually was involved. And then there was a comment later in the book that was like, oh, Woody's definitely involved with the blackmailing, but he hadn't said that himself yet. So I feel like I missed a connecting thread where, like, what was the moment we figured out that Woody was definitely involved with the blackmailing?
I guess, like, the assumption is made that he helps Matthew, like, fix things, so he's thus involved with the blackmail, probably. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember, like, the moments you're thinking of in regards to them being sure he's helping with the blackmail.
It was like, it was shortly before they have the conversation with him, because then of course when they have the conversation he's like, well, here, like, yeah, I guess I was involved. But there was just something in between that space where they were like, oh, Woody's definitely involved, and therefore this other thing. And I was like, I don't know if we actually knew that information at that point of time.
Is this when they know his real name or no?
I mean, maybe. The thing is, that shouldn't really have given it away, right? I guess because he's not, or I guess in that case it wouldn't really be a point of evidence that he was involved with the blackmail because he was being blackmailed too.
It's possible he had just been speaking too much about the other guests in this house that proved he knew about them, but I can't remember anything in particular. I guess other than Lillian, right?
What in particular with Lillian?
Well, he helped Lillian.
Oh, yeah.
And got paid by Matthew to do it.
Right. That's a good point. Anyway, they seemed very sure of themselves, and I was not as sure as they were about it.
Yeah.
So.
To be fair, we should just preface this entire thing by saying, like, at least for me, there's a lot of things that are, like, coincidentally maybe connected.
Mm-hmm.
There is, like, no hard evidence as to why we decide who the murderer is.
I'm trying to think if I disagree with that, because I'm like, what was the proof?
The only proof was Addie hitting Sebastian.
Right. That they got him in the knee, right?
That was it. That was literally it. The rest was a story. It was a good sounding story, but it was just a story.
It could have been anything. Yeah.
It could have been anything.
Yeah. I guess the last thing on the Woody and Jim conversation is it kind of made me harken back to something we talked about last episode of Jim saying that, like, basically Jane wasn't all that bad. And I think now that we know he was involved with the blackmail, like, that gives a good reason why he would say that, since Jane was the only one kind of not involved with it, like, so everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the book tries to create some sympathy for Jane, right? Like, she's got cancer, we find out, and she's not involved with all of this blackmail stuff. But, like, it doesn't really, for me, change the fact that she took her daughter's husband, you know, like, that she did that part of her life. We don't really seem to revisit that because, and I get it, it kind of becomes a fact of the book at a certain point. But when we start creating sympathy for her, I'm like, well, shouldn't we remember, though, like, how we got to this point, like, that she got involved with Matthew, and that was kind of a bad anyway. Like, you know, the cancer's not going to excuse that for her.
Yeah, this was an interesting time to read this book, because there is something about the sanitizing of one's history once you're dead. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But for this book, the issue with, like, having a bad character, bad in the actual sense, not that she's badly written, but it's just like, you do a few good things, and then we're supposed to question your morality. Like, oh, you helped Kimiko. That's great. You're still a piece of garbage. Like,
yeah,
rich people donate to charity all the time. they're still garbage, you know? Like,
Yeah, like Jim makes his little like Bill Gates comment, like philanthropy is so cool. Philanthropy is so cool, and I forget who says it, Addie or something. Basically, brushes him off like that's a stupid comment.
yeah, so.
Yeah, I can see like I can give it some credence to like making Jane a bit more of a three-dimensional character, but it doesn't make her not bad for what she did, or at least it doesn't make that thing not bad.
Mm-hmm.
We find out the source of theft. Lillian has been hoarding, stealing all these random objects from people. And it doesn't seem, like we thought it wasn't related to the murders. It wasn't. And it just seems to be explained by she has a problem. Like she is moved to steal when she is stressed.
Yeah, she's just kleptomaniac.
I actually don't really know anything about kleptomania. So it's like, oh, like stress can make you do this.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, it felt kind of random, but yeah, I guess I'm down for the diversion.
Yeah, and it's also a way to force Mimi to actually talk about her fucking secret. Because, boy, does it take a long-ass time.
It certainly does. The other weird thing about Lillian was her, like, moment of clairvoyance. She was like, I'm going to see what happened to Jane. And I again, like, wasn't sure what we were supposed to make of this. If we were supposed to take this seriously, which I don't think we're supposed to, it was a suggestion that I should stop paying attention to Alexandra, because she was like, Jane was like calling for Alexandra, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna assume that means that's not the person who's killing her right now. But other than that, I didn't see the point in this.
Yeah, this was like, I guess another caricature type thing, right? Like,
yeah, this is another moment that felt a little silly.
Yeah, and I guess it could also be playing on the type of mystery books where this is what happens, where there's like actually a psychic. We get the paranormal cozy mystery crossovers, whatever.
Right.
The only weird thing about this scene is like the aura thing. She's like, I can see Addie's
she
aura.
tells Mimi that she's got no aura.
And I was like, do we just hate Mimi, or like does Lillian actually see auras here? Like, what's happening?
I mean, I don't think so. I think Lillian was just being rude, right? Like, I don't know. I think it's just like Mimi has a certain vibe about her that's a little off-putting. It's kind of intentional on her part, right? So I think Lillian was just calling that out sort of roundabout.
Insane, though, to just be like, you have no aura.
There's also, I guess, to counteract my own argument there's no reason for her to compliment Addie's aura in this case.
Well, to be fair, she should really be complimenting both of them, right? Because she doesn't want to be caught,
right?
And arrested.
Spared. Yeah.
Right. So, like, if she's going to be nice to Addie, she should logically be nice to Mimi.
I think everyone in the house is taking it upon themselves to be mean to Mimi, though. She kind of, she puts that energy out there, so.
Which is really insane, because Addie continuously is like, you're really good with people, Mimi. Like,
I know.
They open up to you. And I'm like, fucking why?
It doesn't seem like she earns it. It seems she, like, actively works against it. And she even kind of mentions it at the beginning of the book, too, where she's like, even if I try, like, people still come after me.
Yeah.
And then I guess the last person to talk to before we get to the end of this is Barb. We did make some predictions on who the last murderee victim would be. My call was Jim. I was wrong. Did you call Barb?
I think I mentioned it just because she seemed irrelevant.
Yeah. I don't remember 100%, but it makes sense that you said Barb, because I was like, oh no, like, don't kill the house staff. And I feel like you're like, well, include they kill the house staff. So it kind of makes sense if they kill the house staff here.
Yeah, I think I definitely saw that connection. I think also we theorized a bit about Gus as the cook being killed, but I was like, he has dogs, he can't die. And I was right.
That's right. Yeah, that fanned out, actually.
To be fair, I did think Jim was going to die, because they almost kill Mimi with that cyanide, and we see Jim in like the scene before eating cherries, and I'm like, are they foreshadowing his death?
I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Yeah, because, you know, the cherry cyanide connection, in case people aren't familiar, but...
Yeah. Because there's also, when Jim and Woody are eating, or are being interviewed, rather, Woody's eating almonds.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, that's also a cyanide connection, but I didn't make that connection until literally just now.
Yeah. But no, Jim survived somehow.
No, Jim survived, Barb died. But now it was not just like, what's the word? Collateral. You know, she was involved with this whole plot eventually. It just took a while for her to get in there, so. So it was with motivation. We can come back to that in just a second. But the thing I wanted to point out here is that she is strangled, like we mentioned earlier. However, the killer very shortly after we find her reveals himself with a gun and then kind of indiscriminately starts shooting at Addie. So I was like, huh, it's interesting that he's gone out of his way to strangle Barb, which is, I think, for the purpose of not being caught, not making a whole, not setting off a gun in a house where you're going to be heard. But then he kind of pretty quickly decides that's the move for the next thing.
And then he fires the gun, Addie screams, and nobody hears a fucking thing.
Right. So I guess he could have just killed with the gun to begin with then.
Right. Nobody hears a goddamn thing. And I think Mimi does because she comes back based on a vibe and then happens to hear the scream, but like nobody in the house is moving. And then Mimi and Addie just kind of leave for a little bit and they know who the killer is and they just don't say anything. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that's about.
Oh my goodness. That part is actually not. I definitely wrote notes about that I didn't put in here. It was crazy of them to find the killer, let the killer run off, even though he had an injured leg, so he should be very easy to catch, and then leave the building.
Yeah.
Knowing that the killer was in the house with all the other people. No warning, no nothing.
Absolutely. But Barb, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway.
I am curious to know how they know Barb wasn't in it from the beginning.
Right, because it's kind of a claim that she doesn't know until she sees it.
Right.
They weren't down there to know that, and they didn't get that information from anyone.
Right. Like, yeah, how do you know she was in the cellar, found out, and tried to use it against Sebastian? Like, where did this part of the story come from?
Yeah, it does feel like a bit of a stretch, especially in a story where it seems like they're trying to reduce variables so that way they can have a story, right? Like, it does seem like a bit of a guess.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, there was one part of it that made me feel a little weird about the fact that she wasn't involved earlier on. Because, so we find out via this accusation, where we're supposed to believe, that it's Sebastian who's done the killing. Earlier on, when I still thought it was Alexandra, one of the reasons I thought that was the case was because it was clear that the killer knew the house really well. They knew the secret passages and such, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does Sebastian know the house? Like, do we ever get anything that says he knows the house? Or, like, suggests evidence of how he would know the house?
I think it's just another assumption, right? Like, he was working for Matthew, and thus he knows the passages.
I just feel like that's not even extended to anyone. Like, that's true for everyone here to some degree, like, that they might know the house because they worked with Matthew, like, except for basically Mimi. Like, I don't understand how that's enough.
I mean, it's
like,
not.
I don't understand how that was, like, a thing that they were looking at as, like, it's important that this person knows the house, and it just never comes up when they say it's Sebastian. And a reason that Barb might have been helping earlier is that Barb does. And so Barb, even if she claims she doesn't, we know she works for the house. So if she had been around earlier on to help, then she could have given Sebastian information he didn't have about the arrangement of the house. But because we're now assuming that she didn't get involved until after Matthew was dead, that like takes that out as an option for explaining.
I mean, other than Matthew being the one to show him.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's all speculation.
It depends how coordinated they were, and we just don't know that. Like, Matthew could have just shown him how to get around to help him with the murder. But that's not the vibe I was getting from it. It was just kind of like he assigned Sebastian to do the killing, is what it felt like.
Oh, it seemed like it was pretty planned. Like, he planned this blackmail event so that Sebastian could kill Jane.
Yeah, that for sure. I understand that the setup was planned. I'm not sure if it was planned down to one. Also, I think things didn't go as planned anyway. Like, if it was planned down to the point of using secret passages.
I think it was because Matthew was the one that drugged Jane so that she would go to sleep earlier so that Sebastian could go and kill her.
Gotcha. I guess the hesitation I have is that they said the dose was too strong, right? Like, the dose was stronger than it needed, and Jane went to bed a lot sooner. So I thought maybe that would have worked against it, you know?
Yeah, I think he was hoping she would go to bed later so that people wouldn't go find her body too soon, I guess.
Okay.
But again, that's me speculating just as much as Addie and Mimi are speculating in this book.
I guess that makes sense, though, because otherwise the motivation for this blackmail event, I mean, one is potentially getting someone else to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like, having, what do you call it? I don't know why I can't get the word out. Like getting out, like other people, other suspects. My God, that took me so long. Like also to get other suspects in the house, but otherwise, I feel like he just like also wanted money, right? Like really, like Jane getting killed is like almost its own event happening that night.
Yeah, I mean, money is still a factor for both of them because she was changing her will.
I guess also was Sebastian supposed to do the killing, or were they really relying on someone else doing it?
No, I think he was supposed to.
Okay.
I don't know why. Other than them being like schoolboys together, I don't really understand why. I think it's also blackmail, right? Like he was getting dropped by his agent. He didn't have work, something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Weak stuff to do a murder, I gotta say.
Yeah, well, especially because he made his whole point of like, I'm a celebrity, like I had to keep things put together, you know? And he was like talking about how he's on an upswing. It's like, you know what's gonna get in the way of your upswing and you're keeping it together is literally murdering someone.
Yeah, this whole plot, now that we're talking about it, this whole plot just does not make sense. Like, I guess the plan was to frame Mimi for doing, or actually, this wasn't even the plan. Like,
No,
they
right,
happened
that was like an
to
accident.
frame. Yeah, Mimi cut herself on the knife, so they figured we'll frame Mimi. So, I don't know if they were planning to frame anyone, or if they were just planning to see what the police came up with, which valid, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew at least would have an alibi, but it's like, why do this as Matthew and then go confront Sebastian in the cellar with a gun, planning to kill him, I presume, so that you can like tie up loose ends? Like, why do you have somebody kill for you and then kill that person in the same house?
Yeah, no, for sure. It doesn't seem, this is not a good plan overall. I will say, I think the biggest disappointment of the book for me, unfortunately, was this reveal that it was Sebastian. And I think it is in part because the plan is not well done. Like it's not a tight seal or even really an attempt at one. Though I guess like murder things like this are often messy, so I can see how things go wrong or whatever. But like it doesn't seem like it was put together enough to start. I think also it's just the case of I wasn't suspecting Sebastian, but it wasn't because I thought he was innocent. You know, like I thought he was an innocent person. Like he was irrelevant, and I kind of wish that the person that it ended up being was relevant, because then it doesn't really have the feeling of like, oh, it was that guy. You know, it just is like, oh, all right, I guess. You know, like I wanted something to pull me into Sebastian.
Right. Yeah, we didn't get to talk about him really in the first part because we hadn't gotten to his conversation yet. But like there's nothing else really interesting in his entire conversation. And then we don't like talk to him again. We talk to everybody else like multiple times, but we don't really talk to him like ever.
It feels like he's barely entangled with it all, right? And he kind of is. Like he's barely involved. It's just that he's besties with Matthew and that's it.
I can't fault the author for doing this, but like there is something about bringing up evidence and like clues, evidence, quote unquote, and just not telling the audience. Like we don't get to solve it with the main characters because we get to the end and Addie is like, here's a picture of them as at school together. They knew each other. And it's
right.
like, oh.
And we didn't get that. We're there in the room like, oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, tenuous evidence at best. Like,
yeah. It's difficult because not having written a mystery myself, I don't know how you piece a mystery together and like just withhold the perfect information and like make sure people have enough to get along, but not make it too obvious. And then like have the ending be fulfilling. You know, there's just a lot to balance with writing a mystery that I can't fathom.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, yes, it is exceedingly difficult.
So yeah, so I that is to say, I'm with you. Like, I was not enthused by the Sebastian ending and reveal with it, but I am also not like I can't hold it against the author for like trying to balance all of these things because at least we did have a story to play along with, and we had evidence for at least something we thought might be happening, right? Like we could theorize. Like, there's definitely mystery books we've read in the past where theorizing has been difficult. So it's just like I don't know, just getting that right, just the right balance of all of those different parts is like what I want to see.
Yeah, but it's like, what's the point of theorizing with false information? Which, you know, some lies here and there, it's fine, whatever. But it seems like every initial conversation we have with somebody is a lie, and we have to do it again.
Yeah, we have to go revisit. That's what I didn't like about having, like, we did have to revisit everybody.
Yeah, and there's no this is tapping into, I guess, style a little bit, but like...
Which we can get into that anyway, because we're about getting out of the mystery portion.
Okay. So, like, this is going to sound very harsh, and I don't mean this to sound as harsh as it does, but, like, there just wasn't a clever way in which we gained information, I guess. Like, every conversation is basically the same. Addie and Mimi go up to somebody, they say, what do you remember about the night of the murder? Very police type shit.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a lie. And then they're like, okay, but what really happened? And then they get the truth for some reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then sprinkled in for some reason, we get a personal detail about somebody. Like Barb being like, I sell these essential oils. Do you want to buy them? And I was so devastated when Jane died. I couldn't believe it. And it's like, what is happening?
Yeah, it was bizarre.
The cadence, I guess, of conversations in this book just felt off. And then also, it didn't feel like the main characters had to be clever in the way that they gained information from people.
That's a good point, I think, because as you were saying it, I was thinking, well, it was kind of fun when they were exploring the house, right? Like when they found this like secret basement and, you know, went into the office. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is good information. We're learning, you know, that part was fun. But you're right. It's the people facing parts that were not there for me. The scene I pointed out was the Jim and Woody scene again, where they're like, okay, we're gonna like set up this thing where we bring Jim and Woody into the room and we're gonna look at Jim's face and like it's gonna tell us whether they're lying or not. But then they're not really like asking yes or no questions, right? Like when they're like, he's a human polygraph, I'm like, bring out the yes or no questions, right? Like make him have to respond. And instead they did what you just said. They say, so what happened? And they're like, I don't know, some lie, I don't know. And then they're like, okay, but what's really going on here, guys? And then Woody just says everything. So you're right, there's no cleverness. Like I was expecting when they had this grand plan of getting Jim and Woody together, that it was a grand plan. It wasn't just, we're going to get Jim and Woody together.
Yeah. And that was a confusing plan anyway. Like, I don't know why having Jim with Woody would show us what Woody was saying as being honest or not. I guess they were hoping their stories would conflict. Yeah, it didn't result in anything really.
And even the information that Woody spilled very directly and openly was pretty much information they had already figured out.
Yeah. I think the only scene I actually liked in this book, oh god, am I like spoiling a good vibe I could potentially have later? It's fine, I'll just bring it up now. The only like communication scene, that's not what they're called, but we're gonna call it that.
Sure.
That I liked, I guess, was when everybody was finally together. Because that's another thing here. For some odd reason, we have 3 murders, 2 attempts at murders, and everybody is still roaming this house as if people are not dead. And I don't understand it. Get in the same fucking room and stay there. Like, what is the problem here?
No one's worried about their safety.
Like, no concerns at all. I can't believe it. But the point is, when everybody is finally together and like talking together, we finally have people kind of blaming each other. Like, you did this and you did this and you said this and you were fighting with Jane before she was murdered. And I was like, yes, give me more of this. Like, people actually feeling the tension of what is happening here.
That's a good point. There's not enough tension in this book, honestly. It's too friendly. Just like when we complained a little bit last episode about people just giving information too freely. Like, that's kind of the same issue, right? Like, Woody's the only one who ever kind of gives that pushback. Right.
Kimiko did a little bit.
True. She kind of iced them out, yeah.
Yeah, which was interesting, right? Because it's like, is she hiding something? But like, it's whatever.
I think it would have been a good opportunity to elevate Veronique as an ally too, right? But the fact that everyone shares information openly, like, kind of diminishes her role as like a friend character.
Yeah, it's so interesting. This is such a okay. It's so interesting because like, yeah, Veronique becomes basically their ally throughout this, but like, I think the author attempts to do that with every character. She tries to make connection points on a personal level.
Like, endear you to everyone.
Yeah, and almost give a reason as to why these characters would be honest, right? Like, why does Jim trust Mimi? Oh, because they're from the island together, right? Why does... This doesn't work really, but why is Sebastian and Addie, like, why are they getting along? Oh, because they play Minecraft together. Like, they try to create these personal connections. So, like, there's almost a reason as to why all the characters are so honest. But, like, you don't need any of that if your main characters are clever, right? Like,
True.
Sherlock Holmes is, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but, like, he can read people well enough, which is, I think, what Mimi is supposed to be. That he doesn't need to be, like, endearing or nice. But I think in this we're trying to make these main characters endearing and nice. At least enough that it's more believable as to why they're getting all of this information. Does that make sense? That felt like a ramble.
No, I agree with you. I guess the reason I almost saw a different reasoning in that behavior, like giving something to endear that character so you're less likely to suspect them. Right? Like give everyone kind of a morality alibi, if you will.
That's fair.
But I think it's still in line with what you're saying of like, there is this like extra like, yeah, friendly bit, warm bit that you're supposed to get from everyone when like really what we need is information. And then we could just like make our own guesses, assumptions. We don't really have to think too hard on the morality. I guess we could still think about it. I guess character is fine, but like I want information to be prioritized a little bit more.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention this, but like, in the same vein of like how we're getting our information or not getting enough information, maybe there is something fun about our main characters blackmailing all of these characters for their blackmail information.
I know. Actually, though,
they kind of just give up, I think, and they're just like, if you don't tell us what the truth is, we will tell the police all of your secrets. And it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, I support that.
I think it's fine. It's a little bit police vibes, but I think all conversations are interrogations here, so it matches, I guess. And
yeah, it seems that the house has accepted them as detectives at this point, so.
I mean, it goes back and forth, doesn't it?
I guess. I mean, some people complain about it, but for most of the book, people are just willing to give them information, so.
Yeah, I mean, Gus was an interesting one. He literally said, Addie's our detective, and then a couple pages later was like, I don't want to talk to you. Why are you still digging into this? And it's like, oh, tonal shift, I see.
Yeah.
But that's style, I guess, and all of my complaints wrapped up into one.
Yeah, I feel like for me, the biggest style thing really was just like this random silliness throughout the story, but I mostly talked about that already.
Yeah, and there is a way to lean more into that, but...
Yeah, that's why I said, I was like, maybe it was going for the Clue thing with that, right? Of like, oh, there's some farcical scenes in Clue, you know, where it's like, okay, this is ridiculous. So, like, especially when they're running around the house, like, that's what I think of most. But in this case, it felt more like people just saying ridiculous things about themselves or about the things going on. I don't know. So I felt like, yeah, it could have been there, and it could have been what the author was going for. It maybe it's one of those things where, like, if it were there less, I wouldn't notice it, and if it were there more, it might be too much. So like it's one of those things where I need to be careful what I wish for, you know.
Yeah, I think also Addie sets us up for maybe failure in this book, because she's the one that keeps saying, we need to take this seriously. Somebody got murdered. Mimi, you're being framed. We need to take this seriously. So it's like, okay, girl, I'm taking it seriously. And then we have like a wacky ass shit happening in between. So I don't know.
Yeah, just a little bit of a mismatch.
Yeah. I guess also in a similar vein to style would be kind of our characters. We haven't talked too much about, I mean, we talked a lot about them, Mimi and Addie, but like not really.
Not like who they are, or like the things they are going through outside of this storyline.
Yeah. And of course, there are some thoughts to be had about them.
Yeah, so we've learned that Mimi, her secret that she's been holding on to the whole story is that she actually technically killed her husband. He was on his deathbed is kind of the vibe it was giving, but I bring it up because I actually have some qualms with it. Taylor, last episode you said, good chance that whatever Mimi did is going to be forgivable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what it is going for, right? Because it's like, okay, Peter was like not in good state. He was like going to be in an unhappy situation. Mimi also like mentions herself, which I thought was bad for him, but she's like, I'm gonna have a bad time as this continues on. Like, basically, I'm gonna put Peter out of his misery. And like, I have some personal thoughts. I don't want to go too essay on this about like when someone is getting to the end of their life, and like they're not living in happiness anymore, like what they should be allowed to do. But As a matter of fact, we don't have assisted suicide in the US, and I also just don't think Peter was there. And that's what I think is most important, because at no point do they mention Peter is himself expressing unhappiness with life. Maybe he was experiencing that and he's not really able to, but like there's not enough context provided here to say like Peter really just should have, he would have been better off dead, right? Like there's nothing that says Peter thinks that about himself. And so I have some skepticism that Mimi did the right thing in that situation, despite the fact that Addie's willing to forgive her. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, in my opinion, they don't really talk enough about this. I don't know. I feel like we could have got a little bit more conversation than what we got between Mimi and Addie here, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. She is making assumptions on what he would want, though. Like,
yeah, which maybe she does know. Like, to her credit, like that's her husband, so she may know a lot that we don't. But it just felt a little bit of putting words in his mouth on how he would like to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They were just like, I don't know. This is a heavy thing to bring up offhand.
I agree. I do feel the same. Like, you're right. They should have said more about it. And I think that's the reason I feel that way. It is heavy. Like, this is like kind of, I would say, a controversial topic. And it's crazy that it's kind of just a small part of the book.
I don't know. And the way Woody talks about it, because he's the one that knows, right? Like, oh yeah, I got you the pillow and the blanket and, you know, I was going to help you, but you did it all on your own. It was crazy. I'm like, what? We're talking about taking a man's life. Like,
right.
What are we saying here about this? And I guess we're trying to villainize Woody more, but it's like, for what purpose are we talking about not even assisted suicide?
No,
we're not at
it
that
really
point
is kind
yet.
of a killing. Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. Is it supposed to foil like Matthew killing Jane? Like,
I don't
maybe.
know.
I might be trying to like analyze it too
Yeah.
deeply here, I think. But yeah, I don't know.
It's just not clear cut. That's the real issue, right? Whatever we think about the situation, it's not clear cut. And I think if we're going for forgivable, and it seems the book is going for forgivable because it doesn't get into the controversy of it, then it shouldn't be so controversial. It should be clear cut that it's forgivable.
Yeah, I think this book it leans too much into Mimi being the widowed old grandmother type of figure.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's supposed to be endearing that she's a little crabby and like confrontational, whatever, and that she smokes and all of this kind of stuff. So I think that adds to this being forgivable.
Yeah.
Also, is it a crazy take if I say like if she was slightly younger and maybe if the genders were even reversed, audiences might not feel as forgiving?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good hypothetical. I'm inclined to agree with you, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. Interesting. I don't know. I might just be, scrutinizing where it doesn't need to be scrutinized, but
no, I think there's something to it though of like creating Mimi to be who she is why this has a chance at working.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's other relationship things. There's Addie and Brian. It didn't really still mean that much in the second half of the story, except for Addie to like have something to overcome and be like, yeah, look at me being independent, I guess. But there wasn't really much substance to it.
He was just an obstacle.
Yeah.
There wasn't much to say.
There's just like someone to shit talk. I don't know. Like there wasn't really much to it. So I wasn't really into that part of the story.
Yeah. It was just kind of like a girl boss moment. Like, yeah, you don't need a man type of situation.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny right at the end of Addie's, at the end of the book, really, we get that scene with the bartender and it's like kind of flirty.
I was like, leave the bartender alone.
We really are sticking romance in at the last fucking minute, huh?
I'm like, this man is just doing his job. Let's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it's maybe trying to throw you a bone on the romance, but it's just, I think the way I interpreted it was just like, okay, like Addie is now not so obsessed with Brian that she can't recognize like a cute guy in front of her. That's more of my take.
Yeah. That's certainly the vibe, but I just think it's so funny. Like, I think in the first part, I was like almost confused that this cozy mystery did not have a romantic partner or a romantic interest for Addie, because usually they do. And then
That's
they stuck this in.
Feature. Mm-hmm.
They stuck this in right at the end for me specifically.
Just letting it hit you on the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that's a good point, though. We did actually go pretty much the whole story without like a new romantic interest. Like, we're not just like using another guy to get over the previous thing. She was confronting the previous thing. I'm just sorry to report I didn't find that part particularly interesting, but I think it could have been more annoying had there been a romantic interest just replacing the previous guy.
Yeah, I agree. But reviews, I think I got most of my critiques out of the way. I guess the only other slight critique is the explanation of game terminology.
I was wondering if this would come up.
Yeah, it probably should, right?
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna write a book like this and you want to include video games, you either have to trust your audience to know what they are, or just don't include them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, who is the target audience, right? I think the target audience for a book like this is someone who's both interested in reading a cozy mystery and knows something about video games.
Yeah, and I feel like we're at that period of time in which most people play at least a game.
Mm-hmm. And, like, the language is out and about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you could figure out side quest just from the words, I think.
Yeah, not to take your spotlight on your review, but if I could throw one in there that did bother me.
Oh, go ahead.
It was this explanation of NPCs.
Mm.
And, like, the description was something like, they're characters you don't have real interactions with. Which, then I was like, real as in, like, meaningful, or as in they're not real, you know? Because only one of them is, I think, the actual definition of that. And so later on, they have like a meaningful interaction with Kimiko, and Mimi is like, is Kimiko a player character? And Addie is like, you got it, Mimi. And I'm like, that's not what that means, though. It's not just like a player character is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the character that the player plays.
Yeah.
So, like, this definition of, like, whether or not the player is defined on, the character is defined as a player or non-player based on how emotionally expanded they are. I was like, this is just the wrong definition, isn't it?
Yes. I would just like to say yes. Yeah, I must have glazed over them saying, I glazed over a lot of the definitions. I'll be so for real with you listeners.
That's fair.
But yeah, that is incorrect. Which is, it's also very funny because I might have made a comment about this on the first part, but a lot of this dialogue felt like exhausting dialogue options in a game. And so all of these side characters felt like NPCs anyway.
I think that's how it's supposed to be, right? Like, you're in the mystery, like, and especially for the cozy mystery, but I guess even more traditional ones, like, you're kind of intended to play along with the main character. So that's kind of your player character. Everyone else is an NPC, 100% of them.
Yeah, and the idea that they don't have meaningful story or dialogue, I guess. I don't know. I don't think that's supposed to be a dig at video games, but it kind of comes across that way a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what was intended here, but I could see that interpretation.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I mean, that adds on to the review, I suppose. So yeah, the game aspect was like fun, but wasn't really that interesting. Not in the way I thought it would be, I suppose. Other than the Celeste bit, I think that was the only part where like gaming actually mattered to solving the mystery. Unless I'm overlooking some things, I might be. But that was basically like a crossword to solve the drawbridge. Very interesting. That was a genuine, very interesting.
Okay,
by the way.
It sounded like a dig.
No, I did not mean it as a dig. We're recording this later than we usually do. I'm a little bit tired. I ran out of water, so I apologize. But other than that, it was kind of like whatever, kind of just more a gimmick than like actually integral, I guess is the vibe I got. And then we've complained about everything else. I don't need to go on. So I think for ratings, I want to give it maybe a 2.5.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, yeah, I think I did a lot of complaining this episode, more than I meant to, if I'm being honest. But like I said, I didn't have a bad time reading the book. You know, I felt I didn't necessarily feel like, oh, like this is a hard book to get through or anything like that. Like, I think it had flow to it. I didn't mind the writing style. I just minded some of the choices more than anything, right? So, I guess what I'm trying to say is I enjoyed this as much as I would expect to enjoy any cozy mystery book. Feels kind of in line with other books in its genre, so it's given that it doesn't really stick out to me one way or the other. I think it's just a 3 out of 5. Like, wouldn't necessarily go to my way to recommend it to someone else. Wasn't bad. Just not everything hit for me, but also not everything was like, oh gosh, I wouldn't read this again. Like, I wouldn't read something like this again. It was just kind of baseline. Like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Yeah. And then I guess to end on a good vibe, as always, it didn't end up being that relevant. I mean, it helped them solve the murder, but like, I still don't know if it mattered that much in regards to how they knew who it was. Whatever. I think a good vibe I'm gonna give is the apple pie.
Like the catch, you mean? Like the gummy?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Just realizing the apple pie is gummy, underbaked, whatever, and making the connection of the oven clock versus the actual clock.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a good gathering of information in a way that is unexpected, and I think is clever. So it's such a weird singular good vibe, but I don't know. The apple pie is gonna stick with me, I think.
That's a great one, honestly. I wouldn't have thought of that. I guess for my good vibe, I think I liked that there was a pretty, I guess, eclectic array of characters in this book. It wasn't too one note. There's not that there were no similarities between some of the characters, of course, but that makes sense. But I do think like there was a pretty good spread of like background and interest and all that. Well, I guess with the exception of the fact that Barb was like doing the essential oils, and I was like, this is kind of like the smell thing. But other than that, I was like, I feel like we have a pretty wide array of people types in here, so it was kind of fun to see how that played in the story.
Okay, yeah, I get you.
I think that's it.
And I think that's it. Exactly. So for next time, obviously it is October, which means we need not our yearly horror, because we actually do a lot of horror, but
yeah,
we definitely need it for this month. So we are reading a book called The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. And we are reading up to, but not including, chapter 41, New Room, Who This?
Oh, that's a fun chapter name.
Crazy chapter name. But this story, it's a little bit like it, a little bit of, at least for me, it gives a little bit of Tanis energy, if anybody has ever listened to that podcast ever.
I forgot about Tanis.
Yeah, I never finished it, but I know the
Me
vibe.
neither.
It's basically, we have some high schoolers go on this trip to the woods, mysterious staircase, one goes up, never returns, and then 20 years later, the staircase returns, and I guess everybody else does as well, and we get to see what's going on.
That is very it.
It's very it, yes.
Like with the time cycle thing and like childhood and then adult. Yeah, okay. I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so it should be a good time. And if you have your own thoughts and theories about This Is Not a Game or this book coming up, Staircase in the Woods, all of our socials are in the description. And then there's also reviews, probably not a good place, but you know, you can still leave a review if you want to. I don't know. And then comments on Spotify, things like that. And we will see you next time.
All right, goodbye.